What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer taking a look at this Utopia heroic deck, and I'm going to do a deck profile, and then afterwards I'm going to throw in some gameplay video at the end, just so you can get a good look at kind of what the deck can do. So starting off things, this is a deck that doesn't play a lot of hand traps, or like really can't afford to. So basically your best option here, at least in my opinion, for a lot of different reasons, and one of them mainly is Frame Gear Gamma. So this works really well because you lose to Ash on like Onomatopoeia like 90% of the time. Sometimes Automata Pickup too, depending on your hand. You have a lot of cards in Heroic Envoy. Like you have so many cards that search at first. So Droll is like a huge hand trap in this format. So I think Gamma is like sneakily one of the best like hand traps that you can play. But more than anything, if your opponent tries to Ash any of these 9 cards, you can say 10-2 for Reinforcement of the Army. Prod of Prosperity also counts. So there's a lot of different things here. So if your opponent tries to Ash it or Droll you, then you have the answer. In fact, it trades with 2 cards. So Gamma is going to trade for the hand trap, and then obviously it turns into Frame, Lord Omega, ripping another opponent. So your opponent's going to start with 4 cards, which is great because you didn't lose any advantage, right? Because you negated the hand trap with Gamma. Because I was thinking, well, this deck is another one of those. I had to play Cross Out, and I'm like, well, there's not a lot of room for hand traps in this deck, at least the way that I play it. So I do feel like this is like really, really important to have. So that's why I play Gamma. I've been really, really happy. It's also just really good going second. I think it's really good against Cash. It's really good against Pearly, everything. It's a great hand trap that just kind of falls in and out of formats as time goes on. But I feel like you'll see this card more and more as the format kind of progresses. Just my opinion. Therian King Regulus. So the one thing that rank 4 decks lacked the most was an Omni Negate. You have the Spell Negate. You have the Monster Negate. But if there's something in between, right? If your opponent like activates like a field spell that you really want to negate, you negate it and they go triple tactics talent and you lose. So kind of having that option from deck, right? All you have to do is make a rank 4 Merrymaker, and Merrymaker can send Spriggan's Rocky, and then obviously you can overlay to go into Champion, and that searches Therian King Regulus. So it just it gives you like a really good interruption loop, and like I said, it kind of fills in those gaps that the rank 4 engine was missing for so long. 1 copy of Gigantus. I thought about running this at 2, because if you open it in your hand, it's like kind of unfortunate. It's weird to say that an extender is a garnet. It's definitely not like a garnet in the traditional sense, but you'd actually like to search this later. So when you see it in your hand, it's like not really anything later on that you can search as an extender from the deck. So kind of interesting thing. And I run 1 of Prod of Prosperity, so it's kind of like random. Because if you open this, like sometimes, I don't know, there's a lot of earth monsters. It's not super hard to fulfill the conditions, but if you just have extenders in your hand and there's no earths in the graveyard, it kind of sucks to see this card. It's all very hand dependent, but like I said, I think you could probably run this at 2, because if you open it and then you search it, then you can just banish the other copy of Gigantic, because this is not a once per turn at all on any of its effects, which is kind of bizarre, but no, it's not. This is Spriggan's Rocky. There's no good Spriggan's 4. This is as close as it gets. It's a 4, so you can normal summon it in the worst case scenario. It's a machine, it's fire, it's bad. This is definitely one of the bricks of the deck, but at least it's a 4. At the very least, it can help you, make something if you like have the other bodies on board, or if you have certain extenders. It just kind of depends. But it's also like mostly good to like send off of Onomatopoeia. It serves the same purpose. Mary's only purpose is to send a machine to the graveyard to use with Therian King Regulus. So that's just kind of how that works. This is Heroic Challenger Knuckle Sword to go along with 3 Morning Star. This is like the main engine of the deck when it comes to rank 4s. So you run 3 Searchers and 3 copies of Morning Star. It's a free special as long as you control warrior monsters, and luckily, Onomatopoeia, Gaga Coat, Ascended Sage, Armed Sage, all of those are warrior monsters. So it works out really well in that sense of just being something that freely special summons itself and replaces itself with another rank 4, because it searches those spells and traps on search. And the engine's so good. Like if you see it in the opening and like you already have Heroic Envoy, then you can search, you can search your Knuckle Sword, which is also just a free extender. So there's like a lot of different combinations. When you see multiple heroic cards in your opening, you have like a super, super good solid opening. 1 copy of Onomatopoeia, Gaga Coat, and 1 Gaga Child. Again, I've dedicated this entire deck versus some of the other builds I've had to just special summoning. Free special summons, don't want to lose to Imperm on your normal summon, like super important. And this deck really doesn't really have a normal summon in the deck. which helps with Rocky. Sometimes it can help with Morning Star because its effect, activates on normal or special summon, which is great. But yeah, this is obviously very searchable. Onomatopoeia can actually be searched as well with pickup. So if you already have Para in your hand, it's really good to have a copy of this as that extra one. That way you can search the other two. As long as you control a Gaga monster. Yeah, and both of these count as Gaga. So very easy to extend out. If you just see Gaga Child, it's kind of unfortunate, but it's definitely worth the risk just because the engine is so powerful. 3 copies of Ascended Sage. This obviously searches your rank up magic spell, which is fantastic. And then 3 copy of Arm Sage, which is just a free special summon for any engine. These are just generic. If you see these 2 in your opening, you're usually like doing full combo plus a lot more, right? Or your normal standard combo plus a lot more. Just because you haven't normal summoned off of these 2, and this gives you 2 interruptions by itself. 1 copy of Astral Utopia. This card searches out Numbers Protection, which is your, survival against Dark Ruler no more. It's basically how that works. So I kind of run this at 3 copies, or I should say I run Numbers Protection at 3 copies because I run Reinforcement of the Army, which can search this as a warrior, or I can hard open Numbers Protection. I've tried so many times to run this at more than 1, but it just doesn't work out very well. It is an extender, but you already have to control an XYZ. So if you see this and like a Gigantus in your hand, it's bad. So that's what happened when I used to run these 2 cards, at more than 1, and kind of the reason why I took it out. Rank up Magic Utopia Force, Reinforcement of the Army. Like I said, Prada Prosperity is just super random. But I do like it as like that one consistency piece. And I can see this card being, limited in the future. So maybe this is what it'll be regardless. 1 Called by the Grave. This is a combo deck. You have to protect yourself the best you can, against Droll, against Ash, against just pretty much any. It's pretty much those 2 that are the worst. 1 Galaxy Cyclone. This is a card that's searched or attached, I should say, from the deck from Photon Lord. It's great for those face-up floodgates. It's your answer for those. It's so good. I love having this card. And if you open it, sometimes it's just really good to get rid of your opponent's back row. It's like MSD. Dark Ruler no more. Like I said, if you're only going to run 6 hand traps, essentially, you might as well have like super high impact ones. And this one's good for going first and second. And this is obviously just kind of like, hopefully this is enough to beat your opponent type of thing. This is Heroic Call. Okay, this is the Monster Reborn for warrior monsters, which is great because your whole deck is pretty much warrior monsters. Heroic Envoy searches everything. 3 copies of Onomatopoeia, 3 copies of Onomata Pickup, Onomata Pickup, I don't know. And then 1 copy of Numbers Protection. Okay, onto the extra deck here. 1 copy of Frame Lord Omega. You may think that, Synchro Summoning in an XYZ deck is awkward, but it really only stops number 99 for a turn, right? This is a quick effect. So you are going to be able to bring out a big body during the next turn. But like I said, Psyframe, trades with 2 cards, which that's pretty much what you're asking Utopia Dragonar to do. And at the very least, like in this case, you're not even giving your opponent to, the opportunity to activate whatever it is. So it's 100% worth it in my opinion. Copy of Zeus. This is an XYZ deck. And obviously Utopia engine. I run number 39, S39. I don't run double or nothing, so this is my rank up target. Number 99, Utopic Dragonar. Number 38, Hope Harbinger. Number 90, Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. So that's that little package. It does cost you a lot of extra deck slots, but I think it's pretty much worth it. It's kind of hard to argue otherwise. So Spriggan's Merrymaker, and obviously you can just rank up on top of it with Gigantic Champion Sargus. Searches you Regulus, your Omni Negate. This is also a pop or bounce. It's a quick effect. When you detach a material to activate effect, you can do it. You'll see some cool applications there, right? Because you can just hold on to this, especially if you already have F-Zero, you have the Monster Negate, and you brought out Hope Harbinger, and you're like waiting to bring out number 90 during your opponent's turn. Just sit on it, right? Your opponent's not going to activate like multiple monster effects and like, I don't know, like a chain. That's not like you'd even be able to negate multiple ones at the same time. So, hold on to F-Zero, hold on to Hope Harbinger, and that way you can detach with Dragonar when you want, because you already have an Omni Negate on board too. That way you can pop or bounce with Sargus as a quick effect whenever you want. Gallic Granite searches Gigantus. There's like no other targets, I don't think, because it has to search a rock monster specifically, and I think this is the only one that I play. It's mostly just used to go into F-Zero. Tornado Dragon, it's kind of like one of those generic 4s I feel like you have to have. Utopic Sage searches out, or brings out, it's kind of like an E-Telly for Ascended Sage. Evil Storm Exciton Knight, this is like one of those going second cards, and maybe in your side deck you also want to add like a lot of different other rank 4s, like Abyss Dweller or something, I'm not sure, but you definitely want to give yourself at least some sort of chance going second, and this is one of the best cards to do that. And then obviously F-Zero, Utopic Future, and then Draco Future. Side deck's not really important. Nibiru, Kaijus, I think, are definitely on the rise right now. Something that I hope stays on the rise, because if your opponent just has a Kaiju against your board, then you're pretty much set, and your opponent's not going to break through it, because you have so many different forms of interruption. It's not just like one, like with Pearly. 3 copies of Joel and Lockbird. It's like very obviously good right now. Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, and Evenly Matched. I don't think there's anything too crazy. Side decks are always pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to the replays here. I'll show off my replays against some of the better decks. This is against Kashtira. Kashtira isn't really all like that great. Excuse me. Kashtira is great. It's the best deck of the format. But it's not great when it goes into established boards. Unless they open like Sphere Mode or something. If they just go for Engine, they're just not in a good spot. Called by the Grave, obviously, it like has to be used. So luckily my Gamma put in a lot of work here and stopped his Fenrir, which really stopped his plays. Kashtira is bound to brick eventually, for sure, especially if you can get it off the board. Like maybe he has Papyrus in his hand, which would obviously help him extend. But because I had Gamma, I got it off the board, and that made a huge difference, I'm sure. And then you can kind of combo off. Here's another one against Kashtira. I think I'm going first this time, and you'll see what happens when I have an established board. I didn't know what he had, so like ideally, now that I know he didn't have a hand trap, like I would have discarded Gamma and had the extra extender, but I can't leave myself open to Ash Blossom. I don't want to just like auto lose. I'll go for a little bit of a weaker play, quote unquote. It's still gonna be very good, at the cost of not losing to Ash. Hindsight's always 20/20. Okay, so I can Monster Reborn here. I can go into Spriggan, so I'm going to get the Omni Negate. I'm going to get the Pop or Bounce, and then I have, obviously, the 2 interruptions with my number 99, which is fantastic. We'll see if I hold on to it. Normally I don't if I only have, like, Hope Harbinger and, Photon Lord. But it looks like I do here because, you might as well. The Omni Negate definitely helps. Okay, no field spell for you. When you start with Ogre, you're in a pretty good spot because it doesn't really do anything at all. This card does. So obviously I'm going to wait there. This is fine. You can banish whatever top card you want. There's no important cards left in my deck other than like just any 4. But my board is pretty much complete. Tries to go for Papyrus, and then he obviously just has to lose there. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, like I said, you can hold on to number 99 so that you can pop anytime you want with Sargus, which is very, very powerful. Reinforcement of the Army searches everything. Free special summon, normal summon. This is exactly why I do this, because Coat can bring itself out anyways for free. He does also have Gamma, but this is just not enough. This is great because this is against Math Mech, and Effect Veiler or Gamma is just, sometimes it is enough, but a lot of times it's definitely not. So I'm going to be able to go into an Omni Negate and then 2 pops. My opponent's only going to have 4 cards in his hand, and I'm going to have 4 interruptions. That's assuming that every single card in his hand does something and does it really, really well. Oh, this was actually before I was making my new list, and I forgot to add the rank up magic spell. But like, even when you're in a duel like this, you don't want to just quit. You're like, okay, I want to play it out. My opponent's scooping, or not scooping, but doesn't have a very good play. I was able to stop it regardless of not really having anything. But take a look at this. During the battle phase, I can use the effect of Utopia to negate. So I obviously detaching material there, so that can trigger the effect of Sargus. So that's pretty neat, to be honest with you, to be able to get rid of that. And then I can go into a format Zeus, which is also really cool. That Sargus is always like a big Zeus, just because it doesn't detach any material to activate its effects. I don't even know why it's an XYZ monster. Facially is by name only, or by design, I should say, by the color of the card. He's going to bring this out. Of course, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the board. Last card in hand, Signet Mining. And I just obviously don't want to let him search anything. So even if he brings back the 4, there's nothing he can really do about it. So I thought that was pretty neat that, like, even though my deck was messed up, I still was able to do some pretty interesting plays there, when it was all said and done. This is against Runic. Kind of an okay match. Hope Harbinger, of course, is just, like, really, really amazing because it negates the effects of spell cards and their effects. So if it's already face up on the field, like a field spell, it can still negate it. And that makes, obviously, all the difference in the world. Seeing Gamma in the opening, Heroic Envoy is okay. It doesn't do anything necessarily by itself, not anything too great. So we'll see what I end up getting off the top. The only card that really matters that you banish is the rank of magic spell. So as long as it doesn't get banished, and obviously there's a chance at some point your opponent will, as they're playing Runic, but if you can survive it, maybe the first couple ones or even the first one, normally you're good to go. So I was able to get rid of his punishment, which was huge. Galaxy Cyclone kind of came in clutch there. He's going to negate, with freezing, which is totally fine because it doesn't do anything. It's bait, right? Your opponent thinks, oh, he's going to special summon 3 monsters from his hand. Better negate that, and you'll just have to pass turn, but it's no difference. Coat brings itself out anyways. And that's the only target. Or Gaga Child also, same thing, brings itself out. So I can go into F-Zero, and then just through my opponent's interruptions. And there he goes. He's going to go for Slumber, but it's too late. He's going to try to draw a few cards, and I just use the effect of Hope Harbinger, and then he loses, which is pretty darn neat. I thought that was cool to be able to do that. This is against Scareclaw. You're going to put up some crazy boards, when you play this deck. I was hoping my opponent had draw. My hand would just be significantly better. I also love this interaction. You can discard, Driver to the graveyard if it's in your hand, and if your opponent tries to Ash, you can still use Gamma. It's from hand, deck, or graveyard, just not banished. So, kind of a cool interaction. My opponent had nothing, so not really much I can do there. Just standard plays here. I think I'm going to go for the Omni. I think that's just smarter, but I guess I go for F-Zero. Both are very valid. F-Zero is actually, F-Zero is an amazing card. It's a snatch steal, so you get to use your opponent. It doesn't negate the effects, right? It gets around a lot of things, just because it doesn't destroy. He tries to Book of Moon my F-Zero. He imperms the Photon Lord. So, okay, I only have F-Zero left, but he's going to go for Fenrir. I'm going to use it. I have the banish effect of Fenrir has not been used this turn, so he's going to go for Reichardt, and then, of course, I'm just going to go ahead and banish it. That way he doesn't have anything to Monster Reborn, which I thought was, really, really funny in that duel. I'll show off maybe one more, and I'll, call it a wrap here. Again, seeing Gamma in your hand's fine. Just because I already had full combo, it'd be great if I had a Searcher and he had Ash, but we'll see what ends up happening. This is one of those high, low percentage chance of ending it, right? You only have 3 copies of Utopia, or Numbers Protect, I should say more specifically, but when you do open it, you're leaving yourself open for some really, really good plays. So I have 2 Omnis, right? One's a counter, one's King Regulus. I have the pop here, with Champion, and I'm kind of off to the races at that point. I can bring out Photon Lord, and maybe I should have held on to it. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's probably best to leave that out. So Sargus is offline, which is kind of unfortunate. And that's definitely the worst part, but yeah, it's a lot of interruption. You're just going to put up so many negates, those 30 negate boards that everyone talks about. They hate using, you're putting those up pretty much. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this deck in the comment section down below. Other than that, it's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.